Reports are escalating about Elias Pettersson's potential impending departure from the Vancouver Canucks, and as Elliotte Friedman said, teams have been calling Vancouver, and we think that Montreal very well could be one of them. We got to dive into all the rumors surrounding Pettersson today, plus Marty St. Louis making a big change with a huge focus at practice that will hopefully set the Habs up for some big success. Stick around for all that on this episode of Habs Digest, but first, Jesse, we got to talk a bit about Raphael RHP, a guy that I feel like had an amazing season last year, but this year it almost feels like we forget he's on the team sometimes because he's had some horrible injury luck, and when he's played, he hasn't put up the numbers he's wanted. But hey, we knew he had a 4 to 6 week timeline when he got injured, but surprise, Raphael Harvey-Pinard is sur la glace B. He was there on Ice B this morning, and he seemed very comfortable. I mean, it's always nice to see when Habs players are recovering from injuries. Of course, Alex Newhook being the most recent guy, but to see Harvey-Pinard, I mean, we always say how he can give a spark to this team, but especially a team now that's on a bit of a losing streak. Hopefully he can be back soon and really, really give him an injection of adrenaline or something, with this effort.
Absolutely, and an offensive spark at that, because that is part of RHP's game. We can't say that we didn't see that last year in the 14 goals that he scored, which is a stark comparison to the one goal that we're seeing this year. We know that it's there, but on top of that, what we like about this player is he's got that offensive game, but he does every other thing right on the ice as well. So when you can kind of combine that together, being able to score goals, do all these little small things, that's why I believe he will be successful in the long run, just because he does a lot of those little things right. But absolutely, we want to see that. We know what he's capable of. So, I mean, we need him right now in our lineup. We need all the offense we can get, so I'm really looking for him this, next 24-hour games that we have to really stay healthy and have a nice finish to the end of this year.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be some guys rotating in and out. We see Jesse Ylönen has played a few straight games, hopefully give a bit of an offensive spark. He's had a bit of a letdown of a season. I still like him, still think he has decent offensive potential, but not quite putting it together. Pizzetta, of course, is there for kind of other reasons, right? But Colin White, with the new addition at center, we're going to see some new wingers play with him, so it's going to be great to see RHP back, and we hope it's sooner rather than later. But let's move on quickly to the next topic, talking a bit about Marty St. Louis. Now, Jesse, we know the Habs defense has, it's not been the best, though it's been better this season than last season, I believe. At least it feels that way, but there's one specific thing that the Habs need to hone in on, and Arber Basu's recent article for The Athletic, which I will link down below, he talks a lot about the Habs' defensive lapses, and despite playing some of their best possession hockey and really some of their best hockey of the season, they're still losing games, but a lot of that's because of little defensive lapses, notably net front defense, and the Habs spent 2 straight practices working on that, Jesse. Marty St. Louis said the game speaks to you and you want to work on those things. Today we came to work, but there was purpose behind it. And then he, Basu kind of says, well, I mean, look at this, right? He made a point of noting that 3 goals the Capitals scored in the previous game came as a result of men left open in the spot, Zegmas Girgensons from the Buffalo Sabres game. And to end it all off, Basu asked him, he said, hey, do you think that the defensive lapses are system-based? He said, I don't know. I'll have to look. They're not the only cases of the Habs leaving players alone in front of their net, which is why St. Louis had those 2 practices heavily emphasizing net front defense. I love this mentality of like, hey, you guys have been sucking at this. We're doing this 2 straight practices. Even despite a season where some fans have maybe given up on it, St. Louis is really hammering it home.
Exactly. The game, speaking of Marty, he's responding and in the right way. And it is interesting to note, though, that we have 7 straight games where we're actually getting a positive over 50% goals expected. So in other words, we are kind of leading the play. We are generating the offensive play against these teams. It's just these small little lapses, right? As we know, we love to get our defense in and to join the play. But often what's happening is we're committing too many guys up front. There's a turnover, and then there's that odd man rush the other way. It's great to want to generate that offense. It sometimes we're kind of jumping on our horse, especially our defensemen, a little bit too quickly, a little bit those blown coverages. I know there has been some talk. I'd like to get your opinion on this, Josh. Are you a fan of the man-on-man defense for the Habs in the defensive zone, or would you like to see a little bit more of a zone coverage there?
I think it sometimes depends on who's on the ice, right? Like when you have a guy like Matheson, who is, I know a lot of the defensive blunders are his, but not so much the net front stuff. But he's a guy that can keep up with pretty much anyone on his feet. And as we saw in the game against the Devils, Guhle sticking with Jack Hughes that whole game, doing an amazing job. I think with those kind of guys, it's okay running man to man, but sometimes the zone defense works. I mean, we saw that diamond on the penalty kill for a little while, and while it took a little while to get going, we started to see some decent results at the end of it. At the end of the day, though, I mean, it all depends on the personnel, how you buy in, and how you work together. And I think team chemistry plays a big role in that, Jesse. Am I off base there?
No, I completely agree. I think the Habs, for the most part this season, have done a good job of really limiting the high quality scoring
Hmm.
chances, really collapsing down low. But it's funny that we're doing that. But now, if we could still kind of get rid of those small little lapses, in front, I think then we're really kind of covered defensively. But I think it's kind of a young team that's really growing, right? We're doing so many things, but the game is just so quick, right? Where it's just one mistake and it's really coming back the other way. But this is what's costing us. The game against the Penguins, like such a good example, right? We're leading the vast majority of the game. You throw in a bad penalty there, blown coverage, and that's really the game. That's today. The margin of error is just so thin. So I really feel though that we're closer than we are further away. It's amazing on a 5-game losing streak, but having 7 of these games where we're actually generating most of the offensive challenges. So there's some great takeaways there. Really just tightening that up. Maybe a little bit of work revision on the system. It'll be interesting to see going forward if we choose to stay with that. I definitely get your point, going forward there. But I definitely have full confidence in Marty St. Louis to figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the guys respond well to him. Hopefully, we see them bounce back, especially on those things. We'll be keeping an eye out for him in the next coming weeks. Final thing we got to talk about, Jesse. I'm sure a lot of people jumped right to this, but the Elias Pettersson stuff is getting a bit crazy. Now, we've talked about the potential of Montreal putting in a Godfather offer for Elias Pettersson before, and hey, now maybe better than ever. On Saturday night, Elliot Friedman said that the Vancouver Canucks are now getting calls on Elias Pettersson, checking in on his status, and just today on Donnie and Dolly, basically said the Canucks aren't getting any indication from Pettersson that he wants to be there long term. There's frustration there. They don't have any intel that he wants out, but he also said, up until now, I always thought EP would resign, but I'm not so sure now. There's a lot of uncertainty for this guy, Jesse. Now, Elias Pettersson has 74 points in 60 games this season. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. You gotta think that if he doesn't extend with the Canucks, some team's going to offer him in the order of probably $11-12 million a year. It's going to get insane. But I think the Habs have what it takes to create a Godfather offer for Pettersson. Now, I got to think Kent Hughes is one of these people calling, asking for him. He's liked to get these restricted free agents, right as they get to their contract, if they can sort of negotiate an extension. The problem is, I think a lot of Habs fans might not be happy with the price. I think you got to start with either one of Guhle or Reinbacher, maybe even Dach, just maybe Dach, maybe one of Guhle, Reinbacher, probably a couple first-round picks. I feel like the price is extremely high, Jesse, but for a guy of this caliber, a guy that can be your franchise-changing superstar, is there any lengths that you think Kent Hughes might not go to try and get him?
There is no length he will not go to. This is why we stockpile all of our picks, right? We know we can't use all of them. So what is the next natural move? Of course, trading that in. And this situation has been so interesting just to monitor over the season. You kind of Vancouver having a great season and you expect all the indicators there for him to sign, but he's just not doing it for whatever reason, right? Which you have to feel like there's kind of something up there. I think you'd probably be right for a lot of people in assuming that he wants to play the playoffs this year, and it's going to be largely dependent on how they do, right? If they have a big run, probably a big chance of him staying. If not, I mean, if you're the Montreal Canadiens, if they're getting eliminated the first round, maybe even the second, you're picking up that phone shortly thereafter to really make a go of this. If we're looking at what we really need, he definitely checks those boxes a lot of ways, not only in terms of offensive talent, but also, the character, everything else like that, being a leader, right? It's very rare where these type of opportunities come out. Like this is just amazing to see how this keeps on dragging on. And the longer it goes on, you almost feel, the higher our chances are of the Habs. Because I mean, like we have like a former agent, that was very player friendly in Kent Hughes, now with us. You got a very player friendly head coach, a lot of, a former NHLer that many players around the league really respect, especially like an offensive player like Elias Pettersson. Make no mistake, like these play huge factors, the type of the organization, what the Habs are doing right now with limited resources. I'm sure a lot of NHLers around the league are taking stock and they're saying, we just add a couple more pieces here and there. We really have a solid foundation, not for just right now, but for in the future as well.
Yeah, I hope so. And let me come out and fully say this as well. I don't think this is going to happen. Definitely not soon. And I'm not saying that the odds are that the Habs are going to make this trade. No. But what I think we are saying is that the Habs have one of the best trade offers in the league to offer for Pettersson. Now, I'm seeing some people say you have to start with one of Caufield, Suzuki, or Slafkovsky. Wouldn't surprise me if that's what Vancouver's asking price was, but at the same time, you look at maybe a Dach, you look at Reinbacher or Guhle, and you look at those 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick, and then you talk in like Owen Beck-Meshar or maybe someone else on defense. Like, the Habs have what it takes to maybe build up a big package for Vancouver if Pettersson decides not to go. But here's the thing too, you guys got to remember, Pettersson's a restricted free agent. He can just sign an offer sheet, and if the Canucks want to let him walk for that, they get at minimum 3 first-round picks. So it's going to take a haul for him. It's going to take so much, but we'd love to hear from you down below. What would you give up for Elias Pettersson? Would you trade the farm? Would you mortgage the future for Elias Pettersson, who very well could be your future if an extension was in place? We'd love to hear from you down below. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. What an exciting one. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Help us hit 11,000 subs. We are so close, and we really appreciate all your support. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.